First, we're going to talk about a financial planning framework. Okay. And the reason is the purpose of showing our financial planning process is to make sure that you and your family are on track in reaching your goals. So that's really the first step. So for a lot of you, the goals are retirement, maybe paying down debt, buying a home, saving for college, for educational costs, but travel also fits into those goals, which we're going to be obviously talking about tonight. And there are two phases when it comes to our financial planning process. The first is to basically coordinate and consolidate your assets. And there are three segments we talked about. The first is spending, where we talk about the budget, the income coming in, the expenses going out, so you can save for travel and other related expenses. The second is savings, making sure you have an emergency fund, short-term expenses, as well as managing debt and saving for educational costs. And then finally, investing. This is where you take on risk with your money for long-term goals such as retirement. Okay, so once that's organized, the second phase is basically protecting and conserving everything that we've done in phase number one, which is tax planning, which is minimizing the tax bite of Uncle Sam, risk management, which is really a fancy word for insurance. And when it comes to travel, making sure you have travel insurance and making sure you have health insurance, especially when you travel abroad, which we're going to be talking about in more detail tonight. And then finally, estate planning. Okay, before you get on that plane, make sure your estate plan's in order, where we talk about wills, trust, health proxy, and power of attorneys. Okay, so tonight it's all about talking about travel, which I'm really excited about because obviously we're really focusing on the process and making sure you're on track and meeting all these different various goals. However, what sometimes we don't talk about is, how to spend the money and enjoy the money, because in the end, what we're trying to do is make all the families that we work with, financially independent, so they can spend time with family and travel and do the things that they're passionate about. So tonight we're going to be talking about travel. And then what I'm really excited about, what we're going to be talking about, TimeScale Financial, is putting a whole series together because we have such great community of clients, families, and different relationships, where tonight we're going to be talking about travel. And I can assure you, we're probably going to talk about travel again because a lot's changing in that world, but we're going to talk about food and wine and beer making and all these great things about trying to enjoy the money, because that's really the whole purpose of what we're trying to do. Okay. And in the end, it's all about measuring what matters to you, because everyone has different passions. Tonight, we're going to be talking about travel, but we're really excited about sharing different thought topics moving forward in time as well. Okay. So tonight, I'm going to turn it over to Elaine, and she's going to talk about her travel company, a little background and overview. So Elaine, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay. Hi, Sean. How's my volume to start with?
Your volume is perfect.
All right. Well, thank you so much to you and to TimeScale for inviting me. And thank you so much to all of you who are joining our conversation tonight. And I hope it will be a conversation. I love travel, love talking about it, thinking about it, planning it. I founded my company in 2011. But I come by travel pretty honestly. I grew up in Georgia, and my grandmother, Mima was her name. She was a widow at a very young age, and she and her buddy, Thelma, who was also a widow, traveled all over the world. And they would go out on these far-flung adventures, and then she'd come back and set up a slide carousel and a screen, and we'd sit in Mima's living room, and I'd watch Mima and Thelma on a dog sled in the Arctic Circle, and Mima and Thelma at the fjords of New Zealand, and Mima and Thelma at a Chinese festival. And what I learned was that, the world is big and the world is interesting, and it's not scary to get out there and explore. So that's what I do. I travel around the world, and I look for interesting places, unique experiences, fascinating people, and then I connect my clients to those people and to those places and to those experiences. And sometimes my clients are solo travelers, single travelers, sometimes families, sometimes small groups, groups of couples. But my goal is to take my clients and put them in contact with the various people that I've met around the world, and put them in places and situations where they'll have travel experiences that will resonate with them emotionally, physically, spiritually, intellectually. And I want to connect my clients with the world. And that's really what I do.
Okay. And actually, Elaine, can you talk about some of your relationships and some of the really interesting things that are not something you can just search on the internet and like book off
Yes.
yourself? Can you talk a little bit about that, which I think is really interesting?
And that really is my favorite part of my job, is going out and meeting, making connections to people that can open doors for my clients, and like you say, open doors that are not available to the general public. For example, in Italy, I have friendships with a member of the Borghese family whose family owns properties all over Italy, all over Sicily, and he creates experiences or he and I create experiences for my clients where they're able to go into homes, private castles, private palaces, maybe to view art collections, maybe to spend the night, vintage Italian cars, if that happens to be your passion. Well, I can set up something where you're riding from villa to villa in Italy. In other parts of the world that might be more food related. I have a lot of connections to people. I happen to be a foodie, and I'm passionate about food. So I have a lot of connections to chefs and people in the restaurant industry who have farms. And I do a lot of farm tours where we learn about the 0 kilometer farming, where the food is grown right there and taken to the kitchen. And maybe we participate in private cooking experiences. And generally, yes, these are people who I've met through my many years of visiting and getting to know them. And my benchmark is I work with people who are passionate about what they do, whether that's art, food, design, history, culture, whatever that may be. That's my first criteria. And then the second is, are these people that I would want to spend time with? Would I want to hang out with this person? And if a person meets those two criteria, then they're definitely someone that I'll be introducing my clients to.
All right, that sounds fantastic.
Okay, so, just I guess a little bit about how I work. The first thing I do is I really try to get to know my clients. I have very personal and long-term relationships with most of my clients. And I would say that 90% of the people I work with are repeat clients. So I know exactly what they like, how they like to travel, their travel interest, their travel style. So I spend a lot of time upfront with that, finding out what you want. Do you want to be active? Do you want to disconnect and unplug and recharge? Do you want to learn? Do you want to fly fish? What are you interested in? Do you like music? I find out all those things, and then craft a bespoke travel itinerary. So typically I start working with people, I think the average is 6 to 9 months in advance. I just finished an Italy trip for 2 nursing students who contacted me 3 weeks ago. So I can do it that quickly. Not ideal, but that's very short notice.
Yeah.
And then I have, others. I have some 5 couples who started working with me 2 years ago because they are creating a very, very unique bucket list sort of a trip. So that required more planning. But depending on what your interests are, what your needs are, I can work with most anything. And sometimes I go with the small groups. I do. Depending on your preference, if you want me to come along, if you don't want to think about a thing, I'm always there to tell you where you need to be and when, or I can send you out on your own. And I also work with people who have already booked a trip. So let's say you have an existing trip to France, to Paris. You booked your hotel, you've got your flights, but you want some unique and interesting things to do while you're there. Well, I have a network of people who can provide, as I mentioned, unique, off the radar, off the grid, not available to the general public types of experiences, and I can plug those into your existing trip. The average trip ranges from 2,500 to 25,000. But again, I really like to say that I can work with any budget. But that's just kind of a rough guide there. And yeah, I want to take my clients' ideas, because I want it to be the best travel experience possible. And I have a small company. I'm flexible. I can duck and dodge and weave, and if you get where you are and the weather's not right for that boat trip we've planned, well, I can typically switch it around so that your experience, I want you to have the perfect experience with every time you travel with me.
Yeah, no, I mean, that sounds, great, because, if you want the full blown service, that's great. Or if you already have your trip already planned out, but you want some interesting experiences that you just can't Google or go to the, hotel concierge, it's great that you have that flexibility to customize that, which is great.
Yes, very, very able to customize. Okay, so as you heard, we're going to be talking about international travel only tonight. And I think, or I know, that is an area of travel where we need a lot of guidance right now. The rules, regulations, borders, they're opening, they're closing. What documents do you need? It really is a highly fluid and evolving situation. And no one can really predict what travel is going to look like in the future. And future meaning even 12 months from now. We don't really know. But what I can tell you, because I traveled throughout the past 2 years, I continue to travel. And right now, there are some incredible opportunities with international travel. And so, okay, it was April. I was walking with a group through a Berber village in the high Atlas Mountains of Morocco, and a woman came running out of her house, shouting, "Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for coming. We love Americans. Thank you, thank you." And I really don't remember the last time I heard that. It's been a very long time. But what the reality is that she was the baker for the village, and she made all the bread for the local riad, which is where most people stay. So with no visitors, no tourists, she had no income. Mm-hmm. So, and her story is not unique. Small business owners, especially the tourism industry all over the world, have been so drastically impacted by COVID. So that your visit, your travel dollars actually is making a huge impact in a lot of people's lives right now. So it's something to feel good about. You're going to be very welcomed, and you're actually doing some good by sharing your travel dollars in international destinations. So shortly after that, I was in Egypt, and you're going to see a couple of photos from that later on. And I was able to take pictures of the Great Pyramids and the Sphinx with no people in the photos. So there's an opportunity right now to see and do things that are typically very crowded, and you can see them in a way that you really haven't been able to do for probably 50 years. Mm-hmm. When I was in Egypt, I did the tombs. There were no lines. There are maybe some restaurants that you've always wanted to go to, but you can't get a reservation. This is a time when those things are going to be available to you. So travel right now, you have to dot your I's and cross your T's, but this is a very a very interesting time to travel right now. As travelers, international travelers, you need to be aware, you need to be prepared, you need to work with a trusted travel expert, and you also need to expect the unexpected. So it's a little bit of a practice in flexibility right now, learning to be flexible.
Okay. That sounds like a good plan.
Yep.
Oh, sorry, went one step ahead. Bear with me here. There we go.
Okay, so the way I'm going to approach the first part of this discussion is just to lay out what it looks like right now to prepare for a trip. Okay, so this is not printed right there, but what I'm going to say is if you are considering travel in the next 12 to 24 months, the first thing you need to do is get vaccinated. And that is not a political statement in any way, shape, or form, but your vaccine card is as important as your passport right now, and it is only going to become more and more important. When you travel internationally, you are asked for your vaccine card to check into your hotel, to travel on a train between countries, to go to a restaurant, to go to a museum. So it will allow you to truly enjoy your vacation. And if you do travel without a vaccine, most countries require you to test every other day to prove that you are COVID negative. And so that would drastically impact your ability to enjoy yourself if you have to be at a pharmacy every other day to take a test. So just going to get that right out there. That would be my step one. Next step, check your passport. The lead times now for passport renewal are longer than usual. They may promise you 3 months, it could be 6, horror stories of 9, and you just don't know, and you do not want to be up against that sort of an issue. So check your passport expiration date. Some countries actually will require your passport to be valid for 6 to 12 months beyond the date that you enter the country. So it isn't just, is it valid now? Is it valid a full year from now? So that is absolutely something to look into and to check the requirements, passport requirements for the country that you're traveling to, which you can do on the State Department websites. And just so everyone knows, at the end of this presentation, we have a list of resources to help you to check the boxes for a lot of the things that I'm talking about.
Yeah, and then it's a one-page cheat sheet. We're going to send it out to all the families that we work with. If you don't by any chance receive it, just touch base with a relationship manager and we'll email it out to you. Obviously, this webinar is going to be recorded. And as I mentioned before, please feel free to share it with family, friends, far and wide. Yes, and this check sheet is a good thing to send out to anybody who's traveling right now or has plans to. This is like your go-to list. So all right, so we're 180, 90 days out, or really as soon as you know you're going to travel and you're booking your flights, you need to understand your own health insurance coverage. So that's something to read up on or make a phone call. My coverage, I'm covered even for COVID if I have to go to the hospital, but I'm not covered if I get sick while I test positive while I'm there and have to quarantine. So I typically fill in that gap with another form of travel insurance. Now, COVID COVID-19 is considered an epidemic, which is not typically something that insurers will cover you for, but there are some insurers, Allianz being one of them, that is offering cancel for any reason coverage. And that is the buzzword. That is the phrase that you need to look for when you're evaluating an insurance policy, okay? Cancel for any reason. Okay. So look into that. And again, resources are coming your way
to help you. We have one, I've supplied one website that allows you to put in where you're going, how much the trip costs, and then several options for evaluating insurance plans will be given to you. So that's a great resource, a great tool.
All right, great.
Okay, we're a month out. Definitely time to get to the nitty gritty. The State Department is going to be your go-to website. There are country-specific pages on that State Department COVID website that will give you information about what you need to enter the country, what sort of testing you need, what type of a COVID test, how many days in advance you need to take the test. Can you get a test in that country when you need to get out to come back to the US? What are the mask mandates? Are there any curfews in place? The State Department's webpage for each country has so much information, and that is going to be your go-to source.
Okay.
However, you also, once you booked your flight, you need to check with your airline because they have their own set of rules and regulations for boarding the planes. And you also need to be aware of where you're transiting through. So let's say you're going to Rome, but you're going through Charles de Gaulle. Well, Charles de Gaulle might have different transiting rules for when you need to have the COVID test than Rome does. So what I always say is look at it all, look at all the information. And if Charles de Gaulle says you need that test 2 days before you take off, but Rome says you don't need it for 3, well, you got to do the 2 days. You've got to go with the stricter guideline. And there will absolutely be forms that you will need to fill out before you go anywhere internationally. Most places have now what's called a passenger locator form, which is a QR code that you're going to be given after you fill out a form that you'll need to show. Sometimes there are forms about they call it an attestation form where you're just saying, I promise that I don't have COVID and I haven't been exposed. But there will absolutely be forms to fill out traveling internationally. And the State Department is where you're going to find all that information.
All right.
I'm making it sound kind of scary, but it's really not. It's just all about being prepared, being organized and prepared and aware. Okay, 2 more weeks till we're traveling. It is time to schedule your COVID-19 test. You will absolutely need that to get on any plane to fly to any international destination. Again, the timeline for that varies country to country, but scheduling the actual test is so easy right now, especially in Massachusetts. It is free. You can sign up online. I usually do it at CVS. You drive through, you give yourself the test in your car, and then you get the results. So that's easy, but you need to do it. And I would say 2 weeks out. And then you will need a test to return to the US. So what I do is I work with my clients and I make sure that wherever they're going, they know when their test is, where their test is, how they're going to get there. It's usually a pharmacy, what it's going to cost, how they're going to pay for it, so that there's no confusion around that moment where you need to test to get back to the US. So I am all about helping with that, because the last thing you want when you're on your vacation, enjoying your vacation, is to have to stress about where you're going to get to, where and when you're going to get your COVID test.
Right. Okay.
I help out with that. Okay, we're getting close. All right, keep checking the travel requirements for the destination on that State Department websites, because things change really and truly so fast. I took a group to Croatia in early September, and while I was there waiting for my next group to meet me in Italy, things changed, and U.S. travelers got downgraded in terms of their consideration as safe travelers. There were questions about whether the EU is going to close their borders, and that was 2 days before my clients were due to arrive. Everything went fine; they got in. But my point is, you need to check. all the
Yeah.
time. I check every day. I'm leaving for Italy on Sunday, and I'm checking every single day just to
Okay.
stay on top. Okay, all those documents, copy them, leave a set at home, take photos, store them on your cell phone, put some in your suitcase. Any document that you possibly think you might need, your vaccine card, your passport, these various forms that you have to fill out, copy it all, put them in various places and have them easily accessible at all times, really, especially the vaccine card. You'll get asked for that all over the place.
And Elaine, is it fair to say, because like, I don't think you're scaring me, but like, it does seem a little daunting, but maybe you could share with everyone on the webinar. I mean, you've been traveling for 2 years. As long as you follow our checklist and just, basically be diligent and organized, do you feel that, traveling is worth it right now, or is
100%.
what the
100%, 100%.
Okay.
And I think the biggest fear is just the fear of going. And once you get to where you're going, it's so relaxing. And I mean, really, a lot of the fear right now is if you listen to the news. Just stop listening to the news. Stop it.
Right.
And when you are traveling internationally, I don't listen to the news, and I find, and my clients say this too, their stress levels go down, and you will, and the places that I send people are definitely a little more off the beaten path. I'm not right now into big crowded cities, and so I'm sending people safe places. It is not scary. It is so enjoyable. The people are welcoming. No lines, as I mentioned earlier. The benefits right now, I mean, everyone has to assess your own personal risk or risk tolerance in terms of your own health and risk factors or whatnot. But I think it's a great time to travel. I think it's a very exciting time to travel. I do.
Yeah, I think that's great to share, because what we try to do with the families that we work with is, hey, you set your goals, you have a plan, and we are your partner to walk you through this. But it seems like what you're saying is, listen, if you have you set your goals for travel and have a plan and be organized, and you have the checklist that that we put together for you, and if you work with someone like yourself who's a trusted professionals, or even if you're on your own, that travel can be just as pleasurable, maybe even nicer, because there's less crowds, and it shouldn't be something that should scare you or put you off as being, oh, it's just too much of a hassle now. Is that fair to say?
That is very fair to say. And if one of the things I think we've learned during COVID is that if you put things off, well, you might not ever get to do them, right? So get while the getting's good in terms of travel. That's what I say.
Yeah. And I do see some questions coming in. I promise you, I'm going to answer all the questions. We're just going to get through the presentation. And if it makes sense to weave them in, I will. But I promise you, if you've actually asked a question in the Q&A chat, we will answer all of them at the end of the presentation.
Okay. Pack your flexibility. All right, here we go. Now's the fun part, right? You got your passports up to date, you're vaccinated, you're aware, you're prepared. Let's go. Now we're gonna this is the fun part. Now we get to go to some destinations. I'm like Mima now. I'm gonna show you my slides. All right. Okay, so I work with a variety of different types of people and types of travelers. So by solo travelers, what I mean is let's say you're single, you're divorced, you're a widow or widower, and you want to travel, but you don't feel like planning the whole thing by yourself. And especially right now, it is good to have somebody in your back pocket or in your ear walking and talking you through some things. So I plan trips for people who are going off by themselves, but just want some sort of a framework. And as I mentioned before, I can plan the entire trip from A to Z, or I can take your destination and give you some really fascinating things to do while you're there and introduce you to some fascinating people.
All right, great. And one of the questions were, hey, can you give me 2 or 3 examples of some trips you have done? Well, this is the section we're going to give you like a dozen. So we're going to walk you through that and answer those questions.
Yeah, that's coming. That's coming next. We'll get through the boring slides, get to some photos. Not that this is boring, but multi-generational families, love that kind of travel. You know, I'm all about traveling with my own family, and some of our most memorable moments together have been travel experiences. The good, the bad, the ugly, really, right? When we go through it together, it's a bonding and connecting moment. And when we learn about a different culture together, well, you know, it brings us closer to each other, but closer to the bigger world. So I love multi-generational family travel. I've got lots of ideas for that. Small groups, by small, I mean 8 and under typically. Sometimes often I put together small group travel to various destinations like Portugal, Southeast Asia. And these are trips that are complete. They're planned for a specific date and time. They're on my website, and individuals sign up for those trips. So you may sign up with your sister or your girlfriend, or you may sign up by yourself. You want to join a group. You don't want to travel by yourself, but you don't maybe necessarily have anyone to go with you. So you join one of my small groups, and I am there with those groups. Other versions of a small group is, 5 couples, 4 couples, or a bunch of girlfriends, or a bunch of guy friends who want to go on the ultimate golf vacation, or whatever, or vintage car extravaganza, cigar. I've done a cigar trip in Nicaragua. So but for the groups that I go with them, when I say small, to me, that means the number of people that can sit around a dining table and have a conversation. So my groups will never be more than 8, and 8 is even, sometimes it's more like 6. So.
Okay. Well, I think it's kind of interesting because, with the families and individuals that we help out with, a lot of them love travel. And a lot of them feel very comfortable, traveling in North America or the Caribbean or even Europe. But then once you start, go into the Middle East, or you go to the Far East or Africa, it's kind of not a step too far, but it's definitely intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
We definitely have, widowers or divorced people, or, just people that might travel with someone or not, but this seems like something that is a great way to travel and meet people, whether some of the folks that you're traveling with or not.
Mm-hmm. And not listed here is I also do honeymoons. So
Okay.
if anyone has any children of honeymoon age, I love the honeymooners too. It's always a happy occasion to plan a honeymoon. Okay, so let's move on.
All right.
Okay, so now we're going to get to some examples of trips that I have planned, and and I'm going to even talk about a couple that I'm going to plan in the future. So Italy is a fabulous destination for the solo traveler. It's easy to navigate. There's a variety of, it's familiar in a way, right? And there's such a variety of things to see and do. I happen to have very, very special partners in Italy. One I mentioned earlier, of the Borghese family, who can create truly bespoke, one-of-a-kind experiences. I'm for solo travelers. I have sent people to Italy so many times. I feel like I know it like the back of my hand. I love the southern coast of Italy, near the Amalfi Coast, but not on the Amalfi Coast, which is an example of how I like to travel. I don't like the crowds and the busy cities. I go to a region called Massa Lubrense, which is really the westernmost point of the Amalfi Coast above Sorrento. It's very undiscovered. It's very traditional, very authentic. And I have friends there. I have a chef who can do a cooking lesson with you. I have a local hiking guide who can take you on ancient paths through lemon groves to visit a small production mozzarella farm, and then end up down on near the ocean at a restaurant that is not very well known, but is beloved by by local people. So lots of great solo travel ideas for Italy.
Fantastic. Oh, by the way, I just want to let you know, all the pictures that you're seeing here, I mean, I told Elaine they look like stock photos from the Getty Library, but these are photos that she's taken personally. So
yeah, and the one on the bot, well, both of those are properties owned by my friend. One is a castle in northern Italy, and the other is a palace in Sicily, which he opens to my client. Here's this is a little segue, but so there are a lot of people in Italy who are property wealthy but cash poor, something that Sean would never let happen to any of us. And so he's partnered with, and there a lot of them are his relatives, with them, so that he brings my clients to their homes. They open the doors to their homes, and that is a way for them to keep these houses going financially, but also it's a way for my clients to have access to some incredible experiences and properties.
Yeah, the pictures are amazing.
Patagonia. Okay, so if you have more of a wilder spirit and you love nature, palaces are not your thing. I love South America. Patagonia is what's listed here, but I have Peru, Argentina, Chile, Brazil. I'm actually going to the Amazon in 2 weeks. So I'm a big fan of nature. Nature travel is probably closest to my heart, and I have trusted partners all over South America for unique experiences. The picture that you see with the horses, that was a ride that I did with some clients on a private estancia, which is a ranch, large acreage, 100,000 acres cattle ranch. And we rode through the property, and then we had a traditional Patagonian asada in the ranch house, which is like a barbecue. The picture below that is fly fishing. I don't even really fly fish very well, but the scenery for that experience is absolutely breathtaking. It's like a movie set all around you. There's a lodge there in the very southernmost part of Patagonia, design friendly. All right, we'll keep going. Sorry.
Oh, no. I just hit on the button.
I know. All right, here we go. That's the hook. It's pulling me off. All right, multi-generational family travel ideas. Like I said, again, dear to my heart, bringing together, multi-generations from 80 to 8. I can accommodate, any mobility issues, any attention span issues. And one of my favorite multi-generation family destination is Egypt, because of the rich culture, the Middle East in general. I'm not just going to say Egypt, Jordan, and Israel are typically done all together. And it's a wonderful, wonderful place to share history and culture and connection to thousands of years of civilization with your loved ones.
Yeah, the pictures are amazing.
And there's a Nile cruise that is a part of that trip that, again, just spectacular. It's like something truly out of a movie. It really is. Okay. And safari, my second favorite for family travel. Nature, animals and nature speaks to all ages, and seeing these animals in their natural habitat is just so enjoyable, whether you're, again, 8 or 80. The bottom picture of the gorilla, that was a trek in Rwanda that I did within the past year. It's a newer opportunity for travelers to visit the mountain gorillas. Very small groups. So you're only 8 at a time go up there. But again, it's not. It can be arranged for all mobility levels. You can hike for 3 hours, or you can hike for 20 minutes, and that can be done for all ages. The top picture is a balloon safari over Tanzania. That was a trip for some folks who went to see the Great Migration of wildebeest, who travel around Kenya and Tanzania it's a migratory pattern following water and food. And again, a spectacular trip it's a bucket list trip. A lot of bucket list travel going on right now, because again, COVID's shown us you got to seize the day. You got to do these things while they're available.
Definitely.
Okay, small group travel. Southeast Asia, great destination for, I personally lead trips there every year in January, February, typically and I do them together, Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand. You wouldn't think of Vietnam as necessarily an active place, but there are opportunities for hiking, biking. You can see there's kayaking up there on Ha Long Bay. And that bottom picture of Angkor Wat, that was in February 2020 when there was no one there. It was the beginning of people realizing that, things needed to be shut down, and I was leaving and I happened to get there, but again, it's not crowded right now either. So put it on your list.
All right, another bucket list.
Yes, lots of bucket list. Morocco, one of my all-time favorites. Morocco is not particularly great for solo travel. It's doable, but it's kind of intimidating. So I don't typically recommend that. And multi-generational, it's a little tricky. So I think Morocco is best for small groups of friends, or trips that I actually participate in. Exotic. It's an opportunity to experience a Muslim culture in a very safe way and without traveling too far. The sights, the sounds, the smells, it's amazing. I have longtime friends there. I've been traveling there for 10 years now, and I feel like I'm home when I go there. So, whether it's my hiking guide in the High Atlas Mountains who takes us to his home for mint tea, or my personal friend in the Mid-Atlas who left a corporate job in Switzerland to start a saffron farm of all things. She started it. It took her 6 years to have a successful crop. She was a female in a Muslim country trying to farm. A very inspirational person that I love to introduce my clients to. An example of, you can really do anything if you put your mind to it. The food there is phenomenal. The camel riding, the desert camping, glamping, we're going to call it. I don't really do much hardcore camping. Morocco, it is one of my favorite destinations.
Great.
Hey,
I
Croatia.
think we're going to finish it up with Croatia.
Yes, let's finish it up. I'm probably taking up too much of the time here, but I do get excited. So Croatia, the region of Croatia that I'm really high on right now is Istria. And that is a peninsula in the northern part of Croatia. It is less visited, less touristed. It's very close to Italy. So the food and wine is similar, award-winning wines, award-winning olive oil. There are hilltop villages like you see in the bottom photo with castles, rustic. There are seaside villages with the orange, the contrasting color of the orange and the blue. The food scene is amazing. There are antiquities, Roman ruins in the southernmost part of Istria. And there's opportunities to be active for hiking, kayaking. I just did a food and wine trip there in September, and there are probably more Michelin-starred restaurants per capita in Istria than in anywhere in the world. So it is definitely a food mecca.
That's great. The pictures are amazing.
Okay, I'm not going to read these off. You can read them for yourself. I mean, the big takeaway, I hope that you, or the thing I hope you walk away with, is that travel right now is amazing. It is a very special time to be traveling. You got to be prepared, work with someone you trust, copies of documents, etc. That's all in the presentation before, but get out there and explore. It's time. We've been at home.
I hear you. It's definitely time to start enjoying life with, family and friends, making memories without a doubt. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, here's that cheat sheet that Elaine and I were talking about. Again, we're gonna blast this out to everyone. It fits on one page, but shows, the passport information, State Department, insurance information, CDC statistics. So you're gonna have that cheat sheet that we're gonna blast out, as well as the recording of the webinar. Please feel free to disseminate it far and wide to anyone you know. The more the merrier. And then finally, we're going to open it to questions. There's a whole list of questions, so I'm going to try to get to all of them. So the first one, Elaine, is my wife and I desire to travel to Antarctica within the next year or so. We've done some preliminary looking at the cruise companies that offer travel there, but could use some guidance on choosing the right company. Is this something you could help with, or point us to some other resources? Thanks.
Absolutely. Antarctica is a very hot destination right now. And I do have, I have my own personal trusted travel providers. And I would be happy to speak with you offline about what you found and what you're looking for, what your budget is. But yeah, I'd be more than happy to help you, point you.
Okay. By the way, I'll connect you to, I know who wrote the email, so or I should say question. I'll definitely connect you to, so you can chat offline. The other question was, can you give us some examples of 2 or 3 of some of your trips? So that was definitely answered. You gave plenty of examples there. The next question is, we have a cruise scheduled in January for 10 to 12 days to the Southern Caribbean that we scheduled in September of 2019. We have 6 days to cancel. We are concerned about COVID exposure. I get my 3rd COVID shot in 2 weeks, but my better half is not eligible. We are thinking of canceling. What are your thoughts?
Wow, that's a question of the day, isn't it? Do you go, or do you to go or not go? And again, that there are some personal factors that have to be considered. Your health, do you have any underlying conditions? Also, what if you do cancel, what are your options for postponement versus do you lose everything? I don't know what the cruise line, is it a huge ship? Is it a smaller ship? That's a really, I'm sorry, but that is a really tough one for me to give a definitive answer to without knowing a little more.
Yeah. Are people shying away from like the large cruises because of the negative publicity and obviously having groups of people together? I'm just kind of curious what your thoughts are on that.
Yes, they are. And I only now am working with boutique cruise lines, which means 12 to 15 cabins and under for that reason. So.
Do you know offhand how long can you postpone a trip? I mean, is there, especially when you have travel insurance, is it 2 years, or can you?
It depends on the policy. It depends on the provider. There's no real guideline for that. It's very specific to the provider.
Next question: are Expedited Passport services still working correctly, going to downtown DC and getting the same day passport?
Yes, you can still do Expedited Passports. That is still in effect.
Yeah. And what's the charge on that? I mean, I remember doing that like years ago, and it was just like, $500 extra bucks. I'm sure the price is a lot higher. Do you have any idea what the cost is?
I would actually have to look that up.
Okay.
Do you want me to look it up, or?
No,
I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah. You're definitely gonna pay a premium for that, but
yes, you will.
Yeah. And I mean, I've heard in the news 6 to 9 months, but then I was just talking to a client the other day, their daughter just got it done in 3 weeks. So is it fair to say there's no rhyme or reason if you submit it's just random?
It is, and I hope no one is in that situation right now. I mean, the best way is just look at if your expiration date is sometime within the next year, you need to get it done. And yeah.
All right. Next question. CDC lists Greece as a level 4 country, strongly advises not to travel to. what to do. We want to travel there in May. So have you done any trips in Greece, and what's your thoughts about that?
Yes. If you look on the CDC, almost every country in the world is listed as a do not travel. Yes, in
Okay.
varying degrees. But my take on that is, and especially with Greece, I would not go to the busiest and most crowded areas. I would take this opportunity to explore a part of Greece that's lesser known, lesser visited,
Okay.
and that way you're hedging your bets a little bit with it, because usually in those areas infection rates are low,
Yeah.
and so that's what I would do in Greece. I have some people who want to go to Greece, and that's what I'm doing with them. I'm
Okay.
sitting
Is
them.
it fair to say, because I have been to Greece, I was I went there in the summertime. It was really busy.
Yes.
A pretty decent time to travel there, less crowded.
I'm sorry, what did you say about decent time to
Is it less crowded to travel because they were looking to travel in May? Is that a
Oh,
pretty good?
May. Oh, May's a great month. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Avoid July and August at all cost.
Yeah.
May.
Yeah. I went there July, August years ago. It was crowded. It was fun, but it was
And
pretty.
take a look at like, for example, Paros is an island I adore. Not that
Mhm.
many people know about it.
Yeah.
Paros. Look into
Okay.
that one.
All right. So pretty much, is there any country that you would avoid, or anything that the State Department says on their travel website that would be kind of the red flag that flashes that would say, well, maybe I should
Well,
not travel there?
maybe not Afghanistan. I don't think we're going there.
Okay.
I use the State Department as my guide, and
Okay.
any place that's for safety, not uh COVID. I use my own judgment with that, but in terms of physical safety, I
Yeah.
would anywhere that is on the State Department's do not travel list.
Okay. Got
You
it.
need
All right.
plenty of amazing places to go that are
Okay.
safe.
And you haven't, if you use the CDC website, there's nothing, if it's, from a health standpoint, is there anything that is on the CDC website that would make you pause in not going there? Or is that more just personal info, personal preference, I should say?
I'm a big sort of triangulator of sources. So I'll read that, and then I'll read some of the links that we've provided. Go on those and cross-reference, like, what is one saying? What is the other saying? And again, avoid big cities. And this is your opportunity to bring tourism to parts of the world that need it, and not
Yeah.
to focus so much on the places we've always been going. Right,
Yeah.
which had that had its own set of problems before COVID.
Right.
This is like
Okay.
Venice, where tourism was damaging. This is a chance to go a little off the grid and
Okay.
see what that feels like. Get
Okay.
bold.
Next questions. Have you done any small group trips for LGBT individuals?
I have not, but I would certainly be interested in that.
Okay. It would fit in your small groups, right?
Sure would. I
Okay.
think I could.
All right. So if you want, I can always, again.
Can I just say one thing on that?
Sure.
I do avoid places and destinations where there's active persecution of the LB of that community, right? Because
Okay.
I mean, there's no need. I don't want to throw my tourism dollars to a place that's repressive and
Okay.
hostile. So, just saying that.
Okay.
I want to get that out there. Yeah.
Okay. And for the individual that asked that question, I can connect the RM to Elaine if you want to have a more in-depth conversation about that. And then the next question, hold on one second here. It says, my husband and I are scheduled to go to Aruba in December 2021. When I went on the CDC website, it said, do not travel to Aruba. Are you suggesting that I ignore that and just take extra precautions?
Okay, so again, it depends. Are you going to a big hotel? Are you renting a private villa? What do you plan to do while you're there? Are you going to have a private chef come in? I wouldn't go to Aruba and hang out in at a massively crowded hotel at a casino or something. I wouldn't do that right now. If I was going to Aruba, I'd do it in a smaller scale way, in a private home, and avoid Yeah, I might think twice about Aruba. I really
Okay.
might.
All right. But if you went to Aruba and say you were in a timeshare and you just want to go to the beach and,
Yes.
hang out
So-
outside, that would be appropriate, but maybe, just avoid the bigger crowds. Is that fair to say?
Avoid the bigger crowds. Find restaurants where you can eat outside. Just
Yeah.
similar guidelines that we're kind of still observing here,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And be smart about it.
Okay. Next question. Just someone said, gave feedback. This was excellent. Elaine seems very creative and adventurous. She just may hear from me in the future. So maybe
Good. I'd
connect
love
the
that.
two.
I'd love that.
What are the safest places to visit in 2022?
2022. All right. I'm always going to say off the grid, what place that I didn't talk about, the Azores Islands, Portugal. They're in between Boston and Portugal. Very low rates of COVID, very spectacular. Places like Istria, again, low rates of COVID. Places in Italy that are Puglia, Italy. No one ever goes there. It's the heel of the boot.
Okay.
It's amazing. So find places that are not, not overly crowded. Go play. So in Europe is safe. You have to keep watching, what's happening. But
Yeah.
but again, go find a place off the grid.
Okay. A follow-up question to the individual who had a question about the Caribbean cruise. It says we are on Celebrity for our cruise in January coming up. We get a full refund in 6 days if we cancel. So I'm not sure. I guess they might have to make that decision in 6 days or not. So the original question was he gets his booster shot, but his wife is not eligible for the booster shot. So they were saying, should they, just go ahead and do it, or should they just cancel and, rebook another time? Let me ask a question. If they cancel the cruise right now, could he actually book a cruise really easy, like in March? Or, I mean, are a lot
I
of
think
people
if
like,
you could rebook, I would rebook.
okay.
I just based on the question, there even seems like some hesitation behind the question and some fear. And you don't want to be on a cruise and just be afraid all the time. So
Yeah.
I feel you can rebook without penalty. I think in this case I would.
Okay. No, good recommendation.
And also, does the cruise require vaccinations? Will there be people on the boat, on the ship, I'm sorry, who are unvaccinated? I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of things out of your control on a cruise right now.
Okay.
Your odds.
And you're not hearing a lot of people going, like booking in, cruises in 2022. So there's probably a lot of availability. So if you can get your money, you can always rebook if things change. Is that fair to say?
I think that's fair to say. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I should one other question. What is your favorite place to travel?
Oh boy. Okay. So I've kind of already mentioned the one I just threw out there, the Azores. That is on but I almost don't want to tell anybody
Yeah.
because it's very undiscovered, very authentic. The way I describe it is if Hawaii and Ireland had a baby, it would look like the Azores. Pristine, beautiful green lush islands that plunge down into the Atlantic. UNESCO protected vineyards. So the wine culture there's amazing. Such real authentic life. People are living there truly the way they have for hundreds of years. And I love Morocco. Just
Okay.
a fascinating place and fascinating people.
Okay. Is there any place you'd actually avoid traveling right now?
Well, unfortunately, we can't go to Australia or New Zealand, so you got to avoid those. I would avoid, crowded places, and I'm looking for responsible tourism in the places where I go, where there are mandates in place for drivers and wait staff and hoteliers, mask requirements. I guess that's not really answering the question, but you said where would I not go? And dangerous places, anywhere the State Department says is putting me or my clients at personal risk, I'm not interested in that.
Okay, so you definitely take the State Department for any security or safety issues. You definitely go by that. The CDC, you know, as far as their levels for COVID, you kind of evaluate it and you know, kind of make your best decision on the how it pertains to you and the.
Because I think right now the CDC to cover themselves, they have to say don't go there.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, because yes, there is COVID in the world. There is.
Right.
But
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Let me see if there's any last questions. I think that is it. So, Elaine, I just want to thank you again. That was definitely one of the best webinars we've done. Just again, we're going to try to do these webinar series. I could probably do another travel one in the future, but you know, we're going to do food and wine and beer making, and again, thinking about, you know, the whole reason why we do our job is to help all the families that we work with to reach their financial goals. But again, the whole purpose of doing that is really to enjoy, you know, being independently, you know, financially independent, to do the things that you're passionate about. And obviously you have that passion for travel, and we're going to try to share these different topics with the great community that we have. So I just want to thank you again for all your time. Again, here's Elaine's contact information, my contact information. Obviously, you can contact any of your RMs. We can always connect you with Elaine personally. This is going to be recorded, and we're going to blast this out to everyone. Especially, we're going to send out the one-page cheat sheet for that checklist that you have to do before you travel. So you have that as well. And then I just have to show the disclosures before everyone leaves. But again, Elaine, thank you. Any last words or?
No, just that. I mean, thank you so much for having me. I love talking travel. So reach out to me, anyone who's out there who just has questions or wants to chat. I'm very available. And yeah, I look forward to some of these webinars that you're talking about. Food and wine, beer making. I'm excited.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole point of enjoying life. Exactly.
Enjoying life.
So thanks again, Elaine. I just want to say thanks for everyone who attended tonight's webinar, and you'll be hearing from us shortly with the travel checklist and the recording. But again, stay safe and you know, enjoy the fall, and look forward to speaking to everyone soon. Okay. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.